in the shows.
Cool.
And if you want to do bi-weekly wanderings, if you want to read parts of the news, whatever you're up
while
for,
you're on the show,
we're good
you're part
with.
of the team.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way we prefer to do it. One of these days we're going to get somebody that's not.
If you feel like,
with that.
If you feel like cussing out me or
Switch
cussing
to
out
Linux.
Bill just for the sake of doing it, then we're fine with that too.
Yeah, I got big, wide shoulders. I can take it.
In fact, in previous times when we've had a guest on that we really, really liked, we actually invite them to join the team and come back. But
they
you're
almost
probably
never
too busy for that.
Yeah.
Well, one guy did show up for one more episode.
Yeah.
The guy that actually did Video Ninja.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we invited him on the show mostly to. I kind of did that as a strange tactic to force these guys to start using it instead of this to make the show, and it worked.
Honestly, you said start using Video Ninja, and I switched over and started using Video Ninja, except for that one time where it was the first time.
Yeah, we drag our feet so badly,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not for everybody, but it's a pleasure to meet you, Danielle. I'm a little starstruck right now, I got to tell you. I mean it. I mean, I used to listen to you on User Error, and then that evolved into the new show, and I miss those shows terribly.
Oh, yeah.
I miss those shows so much because that was just so raw and 100%. It felt like it was honest and improv, and
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I don't know what these guys. I'm kind of late here. What did you guys get into already?
Nothing.
Okay.
Danny was on for about 2 minutes before you and Norbert popped in.
Oh, and I was sitting here. We were trying to finish up, but OTC is.
Are we streaming?
Yes.
Okay.
OTC is one of those shows where people like me and Leo and Norbert, we get easily...
Like Leo and Leo, yeah.
Well, I mean, Norbert and I are bad about that, too. We can just get to talking, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Next thing you know, you got Joe. You might see this on the show. Watch the video. You'll get either Joe or Moss doing this thing, and it means that either...
Keep going. Come on, move along.
Yeah, it means that I'm talking too much, I suppose. And
well, since we're down to like either 2 or 3 hosts most show, that rarely happens anymore.
Yeah, it hasn't happened lately.
Well, we are not the most verbose of hosts.
Well, anyway,
we like getting to
last show was just Joe and me. We just read the script and said, "Oh, okay," and moved on to the next item.
Yeah, it was a pretty short show, but I think the content was really good. I enjoyed every minute of that.
The only mintCast...
This is my tiny cup of coffee.
Yeah. And that's why he can't sit still.
No, I can't sit still because I can't sit still. The coffee is just a prop.
Okay, so obviously we want to put together a list of questions about elementary and the direction you're going with that. Congratulations on version 7, by the way. I've tried I've tried to install it in a KVM on here, and I'm not having a very good time with it. Although, to be fair, it literally warns you right there at install time. This ain't going to work too good. I don't have anything to put it on bare metal at the moment. So what is the reason
Boxes
for that?
Works
Does
okay.
It? Okay.
Yeah. The biggest thing is that it requires hardware acceleration, and some VMs just don't do very well with that.
Oh. Well, I wonder if there were some steps that we have to do to get Cinnamon to work right in a VM. And
Bill, you could buzz down here and pick up this Z800 and run it on that.
I told you I want it, but you want too much money for it.
How much money do you want to give me for it?
$1.25. I don't know. I need to calm my spending right now, I think, after building all this.
Because it's just taking this big hole in my room floor right now, yeah.
it's a nice looking machine though.
Yeah. You haven't even seen the insides yet, Bill. It is a thing of beauty.
Is it? Just want to crawl
They
in
have
there and
complete
take a nap.
plastic ducting and all the cable management, and it's just, oh wow. HP really outdid themselves on that.
So we'll put together a list of questions. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'd like to get a little bit better collaboration during the week from the other guys, and then we'll get those to you. One thing I kind of want to touch on, and I'm not real sure how to articulate it right now, but distributions like Elementary and Mint tend to get categorized together as a very popular, popular, arguably popular derivative distribution. And I think that both distributions, certainly yours, has diverged from that concept quite a bit. And I don't think there's enough communication out there to let people know exactly what that is. So that's one thing that I want to touch on, is kind of what it is that you're offering, maybe what ways the projects are similar, and then what ways they're not, because I feel like they serve two very different demographics.
I can have a very quick take on that. I would say that something like Elementary is much more similar to, for example, Nitrox, in that way that both of these have a very coherent app ecosystem attached to them, and a very specific idea of what they want their ecosystem to be. And but Mint is similar in the sense that Mint also has a lot of applications shipped with it, but those are mostly just others. I haven't actually used Mint. Are the Mint apps specific to Mint or more specific to Cinnamon?
There's a few Mint-specific apps, like the web app creation tool, which is actually pretty good for creating progressive web apps that actually...
Well, those are Mint-created apps. They are not really Mint-specific, because you can run them on any Ubuntu.
Well, that's true. But, I mean, the same could be said about things that you can...
Mint Stick is a wonderful tool that I can't live without, and it will run on any Ubuntu.
Right. But
so that's sort of
what Elementary is providing is a very well curated application layer experience, where you have a more of a reasonable expectation that everything is going to integrate well, conform to all of the standards, and look
like it was made for the same
use the word native,
operating system.
But it's probably the most well put together package. Would that be an accurate way of describing that, Danielle?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing that we're doing different from other like Linux distributions is that we're building like a platform. So we have like all the way from having an app store, having a human interface guidelines, and a developer guideline. And we have the Flatpak platform on the technical side that developers can target. So it's, whereas I think like a lot of distributions kind of like package a bunch of different stuff. Like we don't package other people's stuff. We provide like a marketplace for people to publish their stuff in.
Okay. Yeah, because I've noticed I was able to get it booted up, and then I went looking for all the things that I use, and Audacity, no. OBS, no. None of those things. So I couldn't get it to work well enough to go looking for alternatives, so I might give it I don't know, maybe I'll nuke one of my laptops and put it on that.
But you can easily add something like FlatHub.
Right, but what I wanted to do was get an understanding of it the way it is intended to be presented to the user,
Yeah, what I personally want to say on the topic is, because I do at FlatHub on all the distributions I use, and I've seen the new sideload app and how if I use that, then FlatHub proper will essentially be added to the repo list and things will appear in App Center, right? My question is there a chance we can see like a settings toggle for FlatHub specifically? Because while it's easy to add, let's say maybe someone decides to use Linux and they choose elementary OS and they don't know what Flatpak is. And as far as I'm aware, the way you add FlatHub now is you go to the FlatHub website, you download a reference file, and then that can be opened with sideload, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of like the thing there is when we're thinking about like how we want to onboard people into the operating system, the thing that I want to onboard people on is to the concept of sideloading apps and sideloading alt stores, and not to the concept of sideloading FlatHub specifically. So
yes, but it is still currently the biggest and most popular remote when it comes to
but they can't
installing Flatpaks.
They can't curate everything in FlatHub. That's
I know.
Elementary wants to make sure that everything they are offering in their software center is completely integrated and fits within their design philosophy, the user experience. That's one thing that Danielle's always been a fan of talking about.
What I was going to ask whether there would be a chance for like a one-click toggle to enable FlatHub with a disclaimer saying that it is not curated, so that if someone tries the system and they don't know what FlatHub is, they can still get an easy idea of how to get the software that is maybe only on FlatHub that they would want.
Yeah, I think we want to avoid that because I don't think it's a good idea for the Flatpak ecosystem to create like a silo of like one app store to rule them all, because like we've seen what happens when we have like silos where we look at what happened with Twitter. Like somebody could just scoop it up and ownership changes and now everything's, So I think like the thing that I want to get behind, the thing that I want to endorse and try to push more is a diverse Flatpak ecosystem where we have more remotes and put more focus on the idea of like you can sideload any number of alt stores of which FlatHub is one, and not like keep with this thing where people think that FlatHub is Flatpak. Like we've had the problem where like people think that we don't even ship Flatpak by default when App Center itself is a Flatpak remote. So like pursuing this idea even further that like, I'll go enable Flatpak when like Flatpak is enabled. FlatHub is just one of the stores you can enable. Like that's not a narrative I really want to
and the main problem is that
get more into.
The mindset that most people have is that they expect these silos to be there. For example, specifically with Flatpak, the technology preceded FlatHub, I think by a couple of years, and it only started to be widely adopted when they started FlatHub. And because people weren't sure what it is, and they sort of expected a single big repository to come with it. My question is that having a bunch of different remotes, how big of a concern is duplication of dependencies? Because if I go and install a GTK4 application from FlatHub, it will pull the GNOME runtime ecosystem, and if I install another GTK4 application, that can share the same runtimes. But if I have two separate FlatHub remotes installed, and I install two separate GTK applications from the two separate repos, they cannot use each other's dependencies if they are not from the same remote. So if I understand, then they would end up pulling their own GTK dependencies, even if they are the same version separately. So
that's not really accurate. Like you can use platforms from other remotes. Like where you pull the platform from, it doesn't matter.
So you can
and OS tree will deduplicate even between different platforms. So like because most platforms based on Free Desktop SDK, like that's not duplicated between like if you install the KDE platform or the GNOME platform or the elementary platform.
Okay. So you can it's possible to package something as a Flatpak that is maybe a GTK app, but not provide the GTK platform itself in your repository, and instead maybe pull that from a a dedicated remote. So maybe not as a FlatHub. So if I install a GTK4 app and it will, let's say, pull the GNOME platform version 43, I don't have to provide the GNOME platform itself in my own remote. I can just point it to a dedicated. I assume there's a remote for the platform itself. So I don't have to pull it from FlatHub when I know it's there. So is it
right? So
possible?
the 1Password Flatpak does that currently. So 1Password has their own remote, and they pull. I believe they use the GNOME runtime for the 1Password Flatpak, or maybe they use the free desktop runtime. I'm not sure, but they don't host the runtime in their repo. They pull theirs from FlatHub.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So is there a dedicated remote that's only purpose is to host the GNOME platform? So you don't.
I don't know. You'd have to ask GNOME about that.
Because it's a good solution, but you still end up having to pull from FlatHub. But and you have to associate with FlatHub, and because you said you don't want to enforce the idea of one big centralized remote. So that doesn't solve the problem completely. So I think it would be a good thing for example the GNOME team to maintain a dedicated repository that only contains the platform. Or for example I'm not sure.
I don't have anything to do with GNOME.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just thinking out loud because
that's something that you'd have to take up with them. So, I can only do, what we do. So
to kind of steer the conversation back a little bit. This is what I meant when I said Norbert and I can go.
We have steers?
It's time to wake up now, Moss.
Speaking is elementary, my dear Watson.
I was just thinking if we had steers around that Joe might want a steak.
Is Joe lifting weights?
Joe is not. Joe is preparing to lift weights.
God. Yeah, me too. I'm preparing to lift weights.
Well, you've been preparing for like what, 20 years now?
22-ounce curls. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I got some little handbells that I look at across the room.
All right. I did make a new forearm exercise machine.
Mm-hmm.
You have forearms now?
Yes.
I'm not sure I've ever needed a machine for that, but moving on.
I have enough trouble managing too.
Ooh, look at that. You are so manly.
I know. I can't help it.
Gosh. Well, my chest hair is growing just looking at that.
No, see how close I can get my camera here. I probably can't. There's a 3D printer. Okay, yeah.
Yard sale?
There it is right there. Yeah, dude, most of this stuff, believe it or not, it isn't mine. But the stuff that is, I'm ready to get rid of a bunch of it. But yeah, this is my new forearm exercise machine.
Brilliant.
And then there's just a huge ass weight down there that you can't see because other stuff's in the way.
All right, so I'm sure Danielle has other things to do, so let's try to come to some sort of plan here.
What, not everybody's interested in my weight equipment?
No, they're absolutely not. We will.
There's the 3D printed Olympic rings that I made. Oh wait, no, I could go on all day.
We will put together a list of questions. Now, if you've got...
Are there questions you wish us to avoid? We don't want this to turn into political or excessively personal.
On the other hand...
I know what my question is. Is Wayland happening in OS 8? I know it's probably early to ask, but I'm just really excited for Wayland. For the idea of having Wayland.
The fact that it's taken this long to get Wayland anywhere means that they named it wrong in the first place.
It is a strange name. Should be X12. There's how my brain works.
Yeah.
Considering it's all the same people, that would have made sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why things like that make me cringe. I gotta call it something else.
Maybe they didn't want to name it X12 because people would have the idea that it's not as different from X11 as it actually is. Because X11 has been around. Yeah, but X11 display server implementations come and go, but X11 itself has been around for like
So be like GNOME
30
and name it
years.
X20.
Like 30
Yeah,
years.
just skip a bunch.
So maybe
X
they
2034.7.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
Maybe they deliberately didn't want it to be X12 so that people will have an idea that it is very different. Well, I don't know how display servers work under the hood, so I'm just assuming.
Well, GNOME right now is ignoring the fact that they're really only on version 3.43.
Well, version number is what they decide it is. They could, when we reach GNOME 49, maybe.
Then
they
again,
can
we've got
decide.
we've got the Linux kernels that they change numbers just because Linus runs out of fingers.
Maybe after GNOME 49, they will decide to go to GNOME 500 to make it consistent.
So, topics then. Is there anything that you don't want to talk about?
I already asked that, and she sort of said,
Well, and then she got interrupted. So,
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Like, do you have an idea of like examples?
okay, so I get into trouble on these shows because I will not hold anything back. And it's gotten me into a little trouble here and there. And
the question is, do we want to learn more about elementary, or do we want to learn more about Danny? And
well, I think there's going to be people
we
that
could have a very long show.
I think there's going to be people that want to hear both. Because, Danny, you have become a bit of a celebrity in this space. And a lot of people,
and for a short period, somewhat of a pariah.
A lot of people,
I think this is
not just love your project, but they love you too. And you got to know that by now.
And I hate to say it like this, but how often do we get to interview a woman in tech?
Yeah. I feel like if we had one on the show,
well, that's the clean way of bringing it up. Yes.
But no,
the messy way of bringing it up is to talk about all the people that trolled her while she was transitioning.
Okay, so let's move right on.
That's why I said, is there something you don't want to talk about?
Do you want to talk about those things? Do you want to completely avoid them? Do you want to go completely off the rails with it? Because I honestly, one thing, and I've read your Twitter posts and things like that, but I've not heard your voice talking about your experiences through what you have been going through and the struggles that you've dealt with. Has your project struggled as a result of the choices you've made? Are these things that you want to talk about with your voice? I would, if it is something that you are comfortable talking about, I would love nothing more than to hear that. And I think a lot of people would agree with me. Some people would disagree with me, and I don't really care, to be honest.
Well, something none of you know.
Some people are assholes.
Yeah.
Something none of you know is that I seriously considered transitioning back in my 30s, which was sometime in the Pleistocene. The things that kept me from doing so were the lack of money and the lack of doctors. There were only 2 in America that would do it at that time.
And I really wouldn't trust the technology in those days.
Yeah. I just basically had to mask myself and just try to be as cis as I could look like. But
never too late.
Well, it is, really. I'm 70 now. It's not... I don't really feel like
you
changing.
are still alive. You still have a breath in your lungs. You still have lots of choices to make in life.
Well, right now I am more important. I think it's more important for me to manage to buy a house, which I have never been able to do, and that takes a lot of money, and so does transitioning. So I'll just stick with the house right now.
Yeah.
I have gotten over 70 years, 40 years since I was thinking about it. I have gotten more and more comfortable with who I'm facing the world as. So,
right. So I don't know. Maybe you want to think about that, or do you have any thoughts on that? Is that something you would like to talk about on a public forum?
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty open about transition stuff. Yeah.
That's
like I feel like my only thing is like I don't want to like debate like whether or not I should be able to be my gender.
There's
but
absolutely nobody on here that will debate.
Hey, there's a weird question. How come
Basically, you can be whatever the hell you want to be, and we won't.
The only thing I've ever
how come the
demanded
only way
about-
we can get women in tech is by transitioning?
I see women on TikTok, like they're doing TikTok-y tech stuff, and I've invited every one of them on the show, and nobody has answered me. So, there
are a couple of women on a few other shows.
Yeah, but it is something that is visibly
Not
absent.
many, though. I mean, the only one I can think of is SMLR, and then L that was on Jupiter Broadcasting. I don't know if she is anymore.
The drama.
Yeah, Emma at System 76.
I haven't listened to Jupiter Broadcasting in a while, so I don't know the drama. Tell me the drama.
Well,
you mean guests or hosts? Because I know there's Jill on.
Well,
Linux.
she was a.
That's National Linux, and there's on.
Elle was she was a employee of Cloud Guru, wasn't she? And that's why she was on. I think that's why Linux Academy, I think, and then they got bought.
Linux Academy.
Yeah.
That was one of the two.
And then the whole thing with Joe getting fired and all that, and we were supposed to pretend like we didn't know who that was.
And like I said, Jupiter spent a lot of time kissing up to System 76, which is a good thing. And so Emma was on their shows a lot.
You know what? Send me a laptop to
rate,
and
send me electronics.
Yeah.
I don't care if they actually work or not.
One of our
Just send them
listeners
to me.
did send me a System 76 laptop, but
Okay, so yeah, we'll get into that then, and because I followed this sort of closely, just reading the things you posted, and then some of the news that kind of came along at the same time, and then your other developer quitting the project at roughly the same time. I got to thinking, oh gosh, I was really worried that the project was going to struggle as a direct result of the choices you were making and the journey you were taking. And that's why when 7 was announced, I was really excited, and it finally gave me the excuse to invite you on the show. I'd been wanting, though, these guys know, I mentioned it months ago, asking you to come on the show, and I just hadn't come up with a excuse to ask. So
I will point out that what we're talking about over on Distro Hoppers is the exact opposite of Elementary, which is Rudra Saraswat's latest project, BlendOS, where he basically puts something on an Arch base and lets you use any package manager, anything. You can bring in any package from anywhere, and
we were talking about that on OTC too, not BlendOS. What were we talking about, Norbert? Just DistroBox,
Vanilla OS.
Well, Blend does use DistroBox. Yeah,
I also mentioned BlendOS. Yeah, because both of them. I was far that both of them use DistroBox in the background.
Well, I've been friends with Rudra for 4 years, which, considering he's 13, that's something to say.
I don't know much about Elementary OS at this point, but I will educate myself by next Sunday. So
it's beautiful. I mean, just to look at it, the default desktop background is breathtaking.
Well, I know one of Norbert's more favorite YouTubers recently did an episode on Elementary OS. Let me see if I can find that real quick.
Who are you?
The guy that does Linux news.
The Linux Experiment.
We've discussed him before.
Michael Tunnell.
Moss.
Moss.
There's a lot of them.
That's it. The Linux
Linux news every week.
Linux experience.
Not lately, you have.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
It's not showing up on my.
I understand. You have to actually delete your feed and start it again. There has been a slight change in the RSS name. I didn't do it. In fact, Ronnie didn't even do it. J. Arun Mani is the one who's working on the website, and he is doing a beautiful job, except he's messed up our RSS feed.
Little fun fact, Nick from the Linux Experiment, before moving to Linux, he was on Mac, and his first distro was actually Elementary OS. So that's why he keeps he makes sure to cover it frequently.
He did a
I
show
have
with
told
Joe
you
Resington
before,
a few
Bill.
years ago too.
I've told you before, Bill, if you want my feeds, I can send them directly to you. And you don't
There.
even have to wait for
I
them to
want
be
everything
published.
you got, Moss. Just send me everything you got.
There, I posted in the general the video I'm talking about.
Right on. Well, you said it installs good on boxes, right? Good on boxes.
Yeah, it should work pretty good in boxes. At least that's the VM that I use when I need to spin up a VM.
I just thought that was just another front end for KVM or Vert Manager or whatever, but maybe they
I
put
think
a
it
little more.
might use KMU, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they put a little more magic into it to make it work well. But I'll get that installed.
Don't let the smoke get out.
Yeah. I'll get it. I'll take another look at it and see. Maybe I'll record the next show in it. Wouldn't that be something? But I'd have to sideload everything, wouldn't I? Do you have an alternative for like things like Audacity and OBS? What else?
You know, I'm not sure that there's people have written apps that complicated. But I think that's like part of the thing is that like it's intended that you sideload apps and alt stores. Like that's part of like the intended experience. App Center is not supposed to be the only store you use.
Oh,
So
okay.
while there is, like I asked about FlatHub, there is no one-click enablement for FlatHub, but FlatHub is named by name, is mentioned by name, right? So when you search for something and there's no results, it will mention that you can add third-party remotes, and I think FlatHub is mentioned as an example, right?
Yeah, and there's actually a link there that'll like if you whatever's in your search box will actually use the FlatHub search URL, so it'll pop you directly to the.
Like
we already elevated a lot.
one criticism that I've heard someone say is that the message mentioning or sideloading a FlatHub is a little bit too small, and people have a tendency not to read small text.
Yeah, I want to
Norbert.
I want to redesign that page to be a little bit more of an explainer about like alt stores and stuff.
Because it people have a general tendency not to read things like error outputs and error messages.
Norbert, do you want to be on next week's show?
So tomorrow, you mean?
No, next week.
Sunday.
Next week. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I have a question.
Wait. Oh, it's
how
not
much
this week. Yeah,
money has been moved to open source programmers through the App Store?
Ooh, that's.
I'd have to look it up. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's a very, very small amount. App Center is not profitable.
Well, that's sad. We would love to have it be a big number so that we could say, see what good they're doing in the community just by giving open source programmers some money,
Well, it's really hard. People really, really hate paying for open source software. Like they're mean about it. It's tough.
I like to believe that we are starting to emerge from that backwards way of thinking just because of the difficulties that have. As
long as we keep having podcasters and influencers and people saying things like pay for the things that you like and that you want to be there long term, then hopefully that will eventually turn around. Because podcasting is still somewhat young.
Yeah. Well, my problem being, even with the money that I have, I can only donate so much of it. Well, but I do have Archive and Bodhi on my donation list.
I'm probably pretty conservative about where I put my money when it comes to open source applications. It really has
just
to be
admitted being a conservative.
It really has to be something that I'm either expecting to use for a long time or have already used for a long time.
Yeah, I really should donate to Audacity, but then they got bought out just as I was about to start doing that.
Well, then donate to one of the branch projects that popped up right afterwards.
Well, they haven't gotten to where they're usable yet for me.
Gosh, let me think. I'd have to.
I'm waiting for Tenacity to come out and work.
Docker, Nginx Proxy Manager, Nextcloud, OBS Studio.
It's like
I
I
wouldn't have any
threw
money left for Dancing Girls at the end of the week.
Yeah, I threw money at Synergy a long time ago.
But your daughter
and
does that for free, Bill.
She sure does.
I threw some money at Synergy a long time ago, and like right after I donated to them because I'd been using them for a long time, they switched to a paid tier anyway, and then they came out with a second generation of their application which sent data out. Like you had to be connected to the internet in order to be able to use your mouse across two devices, which was dumb. So I completely quit using them.
Yeah.
In favor of Barrier later on.
Well, obviously there are thousands of programs I use on a daily basis that I should be contributing to.
And you can't donate to all of them.
Thousands.
Yeah. Well, look at all the programs that are included just in your standard Linux.
No, you're absolutely
distro.
right. And
I donated money to like Plex because I use the hell out of Plex. So, and if Audio Bookshelf had a place for me to donate, I mean, I just started using them a couple of months ago, but if he had a place for me to donate, I'd be donating some money to him.
So at any rate, we need to put a plug in the show about people spend money on what you use.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I think like for our download numbers, it's something like between like 1% and 3% of the people who download choose to pay anything. And I think it's similar for the App Store.
That's actually kind of surprising that it would get up to 3%.
That's like on release day.
Yeah.
It gets up that high. Most of the time it's like 1%.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was usually less than 1%. A lot less.
So like you get a huge influx on like a major release cycle, and then it's just basically kind of trickles in the rest of the cycle.
Last night I was told to look at another distro, and I looked at their website, and they actually list how many times their distro has been downloaded, and it was up to a whopping 2,437. I'm going, 1% of that is what?
I assume Elementary's got more downloads.
Two people donated $2.
Yeah, so far, I think we're at like 25,000 downloads of OS 7, something like that, over the last couple of weeks.
I maybe I'm just naive. I get impressed by numbers like that when things like Ubuntu are in the millions. Maybe.
Yeah.
But you know.
Well, that's why they're going IPO and Danny isn't.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder what's Mint's numbers like. Is it higher than that, or?
They're pretty hefty, but they're not close to Ubuntu numbers.
Well, no.
Ask Clem.
Yeah.
Ask Clem.
Or why don't you?
He's the next
Why
one
don't
to
you
have on the show.
Why don't you have Moss ask Clem? I mean, we have a direct line.
I haven't talked to Clem for 2 years, I think.
I haven't either.
We both are on the mintCast, whatever
called?
that is.
The thingy.
Yeah, the thingy.
You're on the thingy together.
We have a chat group with him that is for.
Black, that's what it is.
Yeah.
He needs to bring his
it's
butt
for
on the show.
like reporters and media announcements that they want to make, and they kind of already quit using it
because he made a rather extensive comment on one of our shows that he listened to, and we published it and did a show on it, and it kind of embarrassed him. He doesn't like being at the center of attention.
Well, okay, well, we're talking about Linux Mint, and he made Linux Mint.
He could come on once a year. I mean, come on,
right?
Right.
Well, maybe someone else high up in the company could come on instead of Clem. Yeah.
Nope, it's got to be Clem. I didn't go asking anybody else at Elementary to come on the show.
Well, I haven't talked to anybody else at the company for a minute. Just Clem. So it's got to be him.
Yeah.
But something always horrible happens with any of his interviews. So
some people are just better at it than others.
Well, the last time he did a major interview, he actually was critical of the Israeli government, which is something that's easy to do. And he started taking shit as being anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider us a major interview. Maybe Norbert, but not the rest of us.
And that's kind of why I wanted to offer the opportunity for you, Danielle, to kind of open up maybe in a way that you might not have felt the opportunity before. Talk about some of these cases. Because I know people are wondering and maybe, I don't know, maybe not afraid to ask certain questions, but these are uncomfortable things for people to talk about sometimes. But I think it's important, because in the spirit of open source and collaboration, we're not in this. Nobody's an island.
It sounds like our sensitivity level is higher than Danny's discomfort level, so we can just go with that.
Yeah, I'm thankful for that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't sure what kind of reaction I would get, but
I'm usually pretty, like you said, you've seen my social media posts and stuff. I'm pretty open about trans issues and educating and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Has anybody else approached you to come on a show and talk about it, though?
No, I don't think so.
Right on.
I think everybody kind of
Well, then we do two shows, one about Danny and one about elementary.
But these two things, you cannot deny that these two things are going to have a direct impact on each other. Especially, I guess it probably wouldn't be appropriate to talk about other people, but one thing I thought about was, you might run into a situation where somebody else directly involved in the project might not want to be involved anymore, and it was as a direct result of the journey you went on. And I thought, I wonder how she's dealing with that.
I definitely was afraid of that, but I don't think that that's happened that I know of.
Is that
At least
right?
nobody said anything like that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, that means we're more evolved than I thought we were.
No, she just had the right people around her.
Yeah, I think it's always kind of implicitly been a pretty queer space.
Sweet. Yeah, well, I mean, you had the colors on the emblem for a long time there. I mean, the writing was in the how's the saying go? The writing
on the wall.
The writing is on the wall.
It's like that SNL skit where he's like, "I'm not gay, but if I was." It's like I would defend them, It's like, have you seen that whole video? I'll have to find that video. It's so funny.
Oh yeah,
but it totally is that thing where it's like I'm not trans. I just know everything about it.
That was a good one, Bill.
My boy does a lot of photography for we have a big Pride festival here in Fort Wayne. And he does a lot of the photography for that, so he's really excited to.
What's your cat's name? Or do you have more than one? Danny?
I'm sorry.
Your cat's been sitting there in the background the whole time.
Yeah, and the cat that hasn't moved in 4
has been
minutes.
coming in and out of the window.
I keep thinking.
Yeah, his name's
Danny
Helios.
is frozen.
He's my only one. Uh-oh.
Video's frozen.
I'm probably overtaxing the connection or something.
So what's her cat's name?
His name is Helios.
Oh, there it unfroze.
Oh, that is not surprising. It goes with the theme of the code names.
Did you name the release after the cat or the cat after the release?
Funnily enough, I did not name him.
Oh,
actually, I got him from a neighbor that she was like, I've been wasting my life and I want to go travel the world, but I have cats and I need somebody to take them. And I was like,
Yeah,
well, I like Helios. He's my bud, so I'll take him.
We've got 3 of the little monsters.
I've got 2.
That's not a real high up window, is it?
Oh,
No, it's ground
It's
level.
making me a little nervous.
No, it's clearly ground level.
There's clearly a screen there too.
Clearly ground level. Okay.
No, he has come in and out of that window a couple times.
Out of the window, it looks like
We
there's
are on
tabs at the
second
bottom.
floor, but there's a screen. Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
screen.
it looks like there's tabs at the bottom for the screen.
I'm not very happy for you that you live somewhere where you can have your window open like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not so much here. maybe
Because of the weather? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like
He's in northern Indiana.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good old Midwest, yeah.
My girlfriend lives in Indiana. She's like, it's snowing. And I'm like, I just took a walk. It's nice.
Where at in Indiana?
Lafayette.
Oh, okay. That's about, I don't know, hour and 45 minutes from me. But I go through there all the time. I'm a truck driver.
So where are you at?
Danny?
Where am I at?
Yeah.
I live in Sacramento, in California.
I was going to say, it's a little chilly in Texas today, but normally I can do the whole walking around thing. And by chilly, I mean it's like in the 40s. So.
Right, because when it snows down there, they lose their freaking minds.
That's true. I don't leave the house if there's snow or ice on the ground, and I know how to drive on snow and ice, but yeah, nobody else does.
We call that sack of tomatoes, California.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And I'm about 20 miles northeast of Knoxville. And our friend Norbert down there is in the Budapest area.
I just had to do a Google search for 40F in C, and that isn't it cold.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, what? It's 13C. Like, I don't know what that is in F. Like,
what's
Wait,
that in real numbers?
See
I don't
you,
use
Charlie.
Fahrenheit.
How is that? Does that inconvenience you in day-to-day life in any way? Because I assume everyone around you is using Fahrenheit.
I talk so much to people that are in Europe that it's like, it's more weird for me to talk about the weather with people that I am actually near, you know?
So yeah, 4 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, I know that minus 40F is minus 40C, so that's where they converge, which is interesting.
Why
can't it just be simple? Just subtract.
Just a little fun fact.
Because Fahrenheit is based on a subjective analysis, and Celsius is based on an actual physical
and boiling
relationship.
Yeah. It used to be tied to water, but it's no longer the case. So
no, but in general, it's approximately.
So now 100 degrees Celsius is just a tiny bit off the boiling point of water. I will have to look it up.
Okay, well, wasn't it the boiling point of water at sea level? Because obviously the boiling point of water changes dependent on the pressure.
And the answer is yes.
Okay.
And the freezing point of water at sea level, 0 to 100. Yep. But as Norbert says, they have decided that water was not stable enough to use, so they're using something else now.
What's more stable than water? Crickets.
Hydrogen?
Crickets are more stable than water, Bill?
Noble gases. Noble gases. All of them.
You guys are so smart.
It's the temperature of 400 crickets in a box.
Okay, I think it's that the temperature in degrees Celsius is now defined as the temperature in kelvins subtracted by 4773.15. Okay, so Celsius
that told me nothing.
Yeah, so basically they rebase Celsius to be tied to
Kelvin and Celsius are the same scale, but Kelvin is based on absolute zero. And so then they defined where on the Kelvin scale is 0 Celsius, and then it's from there.
So it's like it's basically it's shifted
I'm
by
not
like
as dumb as you thought I was.
Like 1,000th of a degree, so it's not really.
So
noticeable.
Kelvin isn't really a measurement of temperature; it's a measurement of motion.
No.
Yes.
I guess technically, right? Because isn't heat like a byproduct of motion?
Yes, it is.
Yes. And 0 degrees Kelvin is absolute zero, but what absolute zero actually is the temperature where all motion stops. So
It's
Kelvin is
while
not a
since I
measurement
took
of temperature.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
I took
Hey
a
guys,
lot
this
of
is
physics.
this is not a physics podcast. Let's get
Well,
back
but
to
heat
reality.
is-
Can we turn
he-
it into a physics podcast?
Gosh, I got enough work to do preparing
wasn't
for shows.
wasn't the Kelvin scale first created by? So he was looking at like a diagram, and he thought maybe we could just extend this all the way until it reaches zero, and that's what they decided absolute zero was.
Sweet. What else, guys? What else?
You know,
need
we
to-
could probably actually successfully transition to using Kelvin, and in like 1 or 2 generations, people would be just fine with it because numbers are numbers.
Okay,
Except for
Bill,
those
you're
pesky Americans.
officially delegated to write all the questions now, Bill.
Yeah.
And by,
Except for those
and by
pesky
me, you
Americans
mean
that they
you.
don't like switching.
Yeah, you've never been to America, have you? Because
They're
you
a
can't
bunch of
get
stubborn
these people to change from Coke to
Yeah.
Pepsi, let alone.
From Fahrenheit to Celsius.
Pepsi.
What do you mean
think-
Celsius? You mean like them people over in them foreign countries do?
You do that so well, Bill. Oh my God! It's like you grew up talking like that, and then the rest of it's an act.
Well,
Yeah,
you
I think the
Well,
US
you get
actually
far
like-
enough south and everything is Coke, even if it isn't.
you didn't say it.
actually
Keg.
like Pepsi.
You get far enough north, and everything's pop.
Yeah, get me a Coke. What flavor you want?
Oh, I joined the army. I went into a restaurant or one of the on-post restaurants, and I ordered a pop. Yeah, just give me a pop. I don't care what kind. What do you mean a pop? Like pop in the mouth? You know?
Yeah, you go
want me to-
south, and they have no clue.
Oh, and then I ordered
No
ice
clue.
water one time. I said, "Let me just get a glass of ice water." Wait, huh?
And then there are sections of the Southwest where it's not Coke; it's all Dr. Pepper. Say I want a Dr. Pepper, they say what flavor?
I know it's hard to get a good root beer.
That's-
Well, there are a lot of
Okay,
flavors of
Dr.
Dr.
Pepper.
Pepper, though.
Okay, so just that I'm sure when you say pop, you mean a soft drink in general, right?
Fizzy
Yes.
pop, I think, is what you call
Yeah.
it.
So
over-
basically, a carbonated soft drink.
yes.
Yeah.
A soda, a
Soda.
pop, a Pepsi, a Coke,
Yeah.
a soda pop. If it's
Yeah.
the 1950s, you put both of them together.
Although they
And then you
aren't
put 2 straws
literally
in it.
carbonating them anymore. They do not use carbon dioxide to carbonate them.
They don't.
No, they use various
What's that big
potassium.
submarine-looking thing they put outside the gas stations?
Read your label. There is no carbonation involved. There's a potassium substance.
I don't drink pop anymore, so
I do.
kidneys can't handle it.
Oh, I go through
Sucks
gallons
getting
of
old.
Diet Pepsi.
I'll have a 0 sugar A&W every once in a great while, but
All mine are 0 sugar.
that's actually I don't know. That might not be
Well,
any better for you.
My
but-
wife drinks Pepsi Zero, but I'm a Diet Pepsi guy myself, and there is a difference in flavor.
No, yeah. Well, I mean that's what it is. It's a different formula for the flavor. When they came out with the 0, it was supposed to be to taste.
Well,
more like-
actually, they have just changed the flavor of Pepsi Zero.
Yeah, Pepsi Zero kind of sucked. I don't know about the new flavor. I think I don't know, but I don't want to be fat.
We talk
so-
about everything around here, Danny.
oh, we
It just kind of goes all over the place.
We chase squirrels all over the yard.
We all
We are
know
very
a little bit
multifaceted.
about just about everything. So yeah, we're willing to have a discussion about anything.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to just say, I gotta go. I don't know what
And
else.
we do like making jokes about the Midwest, so don't feel bad about if you've got some of those to pull out. I mean, I have family in Indiana. I grew up in Iowa, and yes, we know how messed up the Midwest is.
And we've taken quite a bit of
I
flack
just don't
for
know
our
any 'cause
occasional
I've never
jokes
been
against
there.
conservatives.
You've never been to the
Really?
Midwest.
Just
No,
California.
there's nothing for me to see there.
You ever been anywhere else?
Oh yeah. Traveled all over the place, just not to the
Such
Midwest.
as?
Mostly to Europe, I suppose. Yeah.
Where in Europe?
But
Been a lot of those.
Spain. I've been kind of through France, Belgium. I've been to Budapest.
Oh,
Let's see, where else? I don't know, a few different places. A lot of
I-
stuff
I-
for like canonical
Couple-
conferences.
A
Usually,
couple
they
of
fly
us
you
have
around
been
some
to
places.
Germany.
Oh yeah, Germany. Hmm.
I've
Germany's
driven
thank you
beautiful.
for
truck.
the
I've
thank you
driven
for the
truck
correct
from one end
pronunciation
of
of that.
Yeah. Well, I've mostly stayed in North America, but there are still some states I haven't been to, but not very many.
A couple of us have been to Mexico,
Moss
A
of the
little
Wanted
bit of
Man.
Mexico.
Canada.
They call me Pancho.
I haven't been to
They
Canada
called me
since
Blanquito for some reason.
Little white guy.
because you're small and white.
I was like, I was the same height, but I was about 165 pounds. So I was a little
165
scrawny.
pounds in 8th grade.
I've
Okay,
been
now
to almost
I will
as much
have to
Canada as
divide.
I have U.S., but I haven't been off the continent at all.
I haven't been to Canada since 9/11. Since you
I haven't either, for that matter.
used to just be able to drive in there like you're going
I think
to.
it was last time I went to Canada. I was probably 17. So a long time.
It's like a less than
Well,
2.5 hour drive from here. So
I lived in Northwest Iowa at the time, so we occasionally went.
Well, I
I
haven't
haven't been to New England except for Connecticut, and I haven't been to the upper Midwest. Minnesota,
Kuwait.
the Dakotas, Montana, I haven't been to.
Kuwait, Iraq, Korea, all fun places.
I've driven truck
When you're
in
not
all
getting
them
shot
places.
at, they're fun places.
Yeah,
don't know.
I
Yeah,
avoided getting shot
Get
at.
thrown in jail immediately if I went to those places.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, getting thrown in jail is probably better than the Molotov cocktails and the
I don't know.
AR-15s.
If he got thrown in
Henry.
jail in one of those Middle Eastern places, it might not go too well.
Yeah. She.
I'm sorry. Look, I'm. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
like I say,
Well,
we don't
when you
have a
reach-
problem
when you
with you. We
reach-
have a problem with our brains.
Yeah, when you reach a certain age and your brain has been, it kind of gets set in
Calcifies,
stone, and you can believe one thing, and then you know your brain is still indoctrinated another way.
Do
so.
not know how to articulate what it is to be raised Midwestern blue collar, extremely right wing, and then go and educate yourself. And
Well,
learn,
he's
but then you still have these voices in your head. You know that's not
the indoctrination is still there. It doesn't go away.
It exists, and it's something that I have to literally literally choose to rise above. But it's not something that you just do and it's done. It's a
He's not
choice
trying to be an ass.
No, I do.
I mean,
I know.
he is one, but he's not trying to.
Yeah, but not because of this. Yeah, so
I'll poke you or remind you, but I don't think you mean any harm. I know
no,
that.
I don't. I get into so much trouble for the crap I say. I've gotten in trouble on the other show for saying things that were too liberal. I get in trouble on OTC for saying things that are too conservative.
We get slammed for our liberal bias on this show every now and again when there's a conservative stupid enough to listen to us.
I
Couple
truly
times.
don't care. I mean, I want to tell people, you know what? You don't like it, go get a microphone and your own show and talk about the things you want to talk about. This is our show.
If somebody starts talking crap about our ideas, we'll be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, thanks.
And then
you have to remember that
depending on whether or not they're being an ass, it decides whether or not we're going to, troll them right back.
Yeah, we had I'll come right out and say it. We had a incident. We're on episode 3 on Linux OTC, and episode 1, Leo and I got into a conversation about like right-wing attitude towards education in this country, and we got hit pretty hard because of that, because it was episode 1 and we were already attacking right-wing people. And
well, Joe and I were talking earlier that some high school students in Alabama walked out of class because their black studies curriculum for Black History Month did not allow them to talk about slavery or civil rights.
Well, we got a couple of emails, I think it was last year or the year before, telling us that people didn't like it when we were bringing politics on the show because me and Moss would have discussions about certain things that were going on in the news at the time. And it's like, okay, either don't listen or come on the show and tell us we're wrong.
Yeah, I have noticed that Crypto Dan has come back, but...
You have to keep in mind that I think most people who look for Linux podcasts to listen to, because Linux as a podcast genre, I think it falls into like a hobbyist podcast. And people who want to listen to some content about their hobbies generally don't expect or don't want politics to be involved. So
I think that's a little bit difficult in the United States because we're at such a point where like the only way you can avoid politics is if you are part of like the ruling class, basically. Like otherwise politics is something you're running into.
There's another way because your average American doesn't know a lot about politics, and they do that on purpose by sticking their head in the sand, and I can't do that.
Don't they though? Because
like I literally can't do that. You know,
no,
like,
I've got people.
Yeah.
I ran for political office. I ran for local school board, which they turned into a political thing.
It sure is nowadays.
Yeah, bad. But no, just the amount of people that you talk to that say, "Oh, I'm not voting. Oh, I'm not voting. Oh, I'm not voting." It's because I'm not informed. It's because I don't want to be involved in politics. It's because I don't want to know, is what they're essentially saying. It is completely surprising to me.
Yeah, but that goes to show like they can afford to do that, though. That's the privilege of like, you know, that your life isn't going to be fundamentally changed by not participating. It's different when it's like, you know, my rights are on the chopping block if I don't participate. Is a little different.
Oh, we just had one of the people that did get elected to school board try to bring a trans bathroom bill to the middle school. It was ugly. They wanted trans kids to come in front of the school board, which means their name and their address gets recorded and put out to the public. And this is a public forum. I mean, this is all basically you can watch it online and request to use a bathroom other than the one that they were assigned to from birth.
So ridiculous.
Yeah,
it just like puts a huge target on your back. It makes you a target of harassment.
Let's just dox these kids because, you know, kids are so great to each other.
The kids don't care.
Right.
The people get their own agenda and try and press it on their kids, and that ain't right.
And it happens because I've noticed the really young kids, because I've got children ranging in age from 9 all the way up to 29. In fact, he turned 29 yesterday, and you see how the indoctrination sort of evolves throughout the lifetime of a child. And when they first go to school, they are completely devoid of all of the corrosive hate and ignorance that you start to see by 5th grade and then into middle school, and then by the time they get to middle school, you say, "Oh, they're horrible."
Well, here in Knoxville, we have a local hero named Trey Crowder, who goes on YouTube as the liberal redneck.
Yeah,
and he has some killer monologues.
I'm not sure what kind of.
Well, there's a guy out of Georgia.
My inherent problem with politics is that it boils down to having to choose either one of two camps. But as the way I see it, neither one of them are always right. And I know there's also some centrists who take a centrist approach, but the centrist approach is also not always right. Sometimes there are matters when a more conservative take is more logical or more beneficial. Sometimes there are matters where a more progressive take is more.
Well, again, even where you live, Norbert, the center is somewhat farther to the left than where it is in America.
Well, we're never going to be presented with the kind of people that are going to get the job done and make this country a better place. We're always going to be presented.
They don't want it to be a better place. They want it to be a
that
better place
Norbert
for
is
them.
talking about. I'm thinking that Norbert's talking about here with our two-party system, and essentially, if you're party affiliated, then that decides like your whole voting column and your whole ideology, because you can't be pro-choice and pro-gun and be a Democrat.
It also feels like there's.
I don't think the Democrats are that anti-gun. Like Democrats are like really conservative.
You're right.
Like, you got like Beto's anti-gun, but
right. And this is Texas, and like literally, I used to live in El Paso, and that's where Beto's from. So I've seen him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
but even like Gavin Newsom won't say, and he will not say like, "Oh, we want to ban guns." He's like, "No, we love guns. We love the Second Amendment. It's great, but it's killing us."
Here in Texas, if you're even saying that you want, halfway intelligent gun laws, then you're anti-gun, and you're not going to get elected in Texas. It's that simple. You mentioned something about restricting a gun in some way, then even domestic violence cases.
Well,
if you're saying you want to restrict those people from getting guns, guess what?
That's because
you're not getting elected.
NRA's narrative that if they give an inch, then they end up losing a mile. If they cannot allow a precedent where they have to give up or where they have to concede anything, because
the NRA used to be about sane registration laws.
Yeah.
Well, they used to be about sane ownership. I am not totally anti-gun. I do not want one in my house because I'm not sure I can trust myself with one. But nonetheless, we need to have the sanity returned to gun legislation. None of our rights are absolute.
I have my own opinion on that, and we will get to that in just one second. But I grew up a Midwest country boy, and hunting my dinner was a thing because we were broke as shit.
What else do you do in Iowa?
You drink and drive. Drink and drive. You think I'm joking? No, I'm not. But most of your gun control laws in the next 15 to 50 years are going to be completely pointless. Completely. Because as 3D printing advances, you can even look on YouTube right now, you can, in the future, you're basically going to be able to hit a button and add a couple of parts and have a gun.
Now, I don't know why that disturbs me.
It is vaguely disturbing that anybody can get a gun in that fashion. But I think you'd be better off educating people better on weapons and weapons safety, like they used to do in the 40s and 50s, and teach the crap in school and act like, because there's a whole crap ton of retired drill instructors that I'm sure would love to go into our schools and teach people gun safety, and they're also the people that if these kids get stupid with a gun will walk over and knock the taste out of their mouth. But that's what happens when you point a gun that's loaded in the wrong direction.
2024 gun training in schools, but no history. Love that platform.
No, I'm actually for history as well. I'm actually history should be uncomfortable. I don't understand why people don't understand that concept. If you aren't learning the uncomfortable parts of history, then you're not learning how to make a better future.
True.
Well, first you have to admit that we're doing it wrong. And the reason we're doing it wrong is because we've done it wrong for a long time. And I think
that's devastating to too many people.
Yeah,
I think
you can't drag people into that realization.
America doesn't do things that are wrong.
That's my point right there. What are you talking about? You're free to leave any time you want.
No, you're really not.
In fact, I'm
right,
not.
Yeah. It's really hard, actually.
That and all the other stupid stuff that's said. You have to first get people to admit that there is a problem, that we maybe we don't have it all figured out. Maybe we do have something to learn from the rest of the world. and then we can talk about all these other things. But, gosh, education.
There's something interesting I've learned about Switzerland, which is the
What?
the other end of the world. But in Switzerland there is some form of mandatory military service, and men who serve in the military they get
Terrible
proper
idea.
military, so they get proper military gun training there, and when they leave the military, they can choose to keep their guns. So there is a very high rate of gun ownership in Switzerland.
What, like a
But everyone
souvenir?
But they don't keep
I'm
their
not sure,
ammo.
but
Well, Bill, I'm going to have to disagree with you, Bill, because it actually is a good idea. Now, I wouldn't say military service for everyone, but some type of government service should be mandatory for everyone in the U.S. because citizenship you should have to pay.
Okay.
You should have to be a part of it. Go ahead. I'm
So-
sorry, Norbert.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Google, and I assume this is a very official website because the domain is literally ch.ch, and it says every Swiss man is required to serve in the military or in the alternative civilian service.
Alternative civilians.
So I'm not sure what it is. So it doesn't have to
AmeriCorps,
be
National Guard.
Yeah.
Things
I wish
like
they
that.
had that when I was of age, because I basically just had to make sure I was 4F, or I would have been in Vietnam.
So basically, a lot of people have guns in Switzerland, but they also have a very high
knowledge,
quality training for it.
But they
So I
also
think that
don't
is a-
issue them ammunition. If you need to use your gun, you have to go to the center and pick up your ammo.
I don't think that would work here. People just make their own.
But they still have a very good level of training for gun usage and gun safety, which I'm not sure how it works.
But,
in the
if you
US.
don't
What are the
issue ammo,
requirements?
that's gun control, people.
So what exactly are the requirements for owning a gun in the US?
do you breathe?
Do you
Well, in
breathe?
Texas, if you breathe, you can get a gun.
Okay, so you
Requirements.
you go into a Walmart and
What do
you
you mean
buy a gun and
requirements?
some
We
ammo?
require you to have
No,
a gun.
You can walk into Walmart and get a shotgun. I could walk into the Walmart that is 2 blocks that way, and I could come back here before you guys left, and I'd have a shotgun. Granted, I could walk upstairs and go get my shotgun and come back down and have a shotgun, but that's a different story.
It's so, and of course
You can't buy a pistol at Walmart, but you can walk in and get a shotgun, and I think you can get a rifle. I don't know if you can get a 30-06.
You can get a
at
pistol
Walmart.
at Rural King around here.
Yeah. But here in Texas, you don't even need a license anymore for concealed carry. So buy a gun, put it in your pocket. Hopefully you shoot your own leg off.
Never let it be.
I do feel like license, like at a minimum, like if you have to have a license to drive a car, like we should need a license to own a gun. I think that would
I
solve
agree.
a lot of issues.
I think
Just like
everybody that owns a gun should have to be trained on how to use that gun. But that would be
problem-
considered in Texas as a barrier to entry because classes cost money. So what they're saying,
there's no amendment giving you the right to drive a car, is the argument that.
There's no amendment giving you a right to own a gun either. That's for
There actually
militias
is.
only.
The ideology behind a well-trained militia is actually a little bit different than what you're thinking. But the right to bear arms and to own a gun is explicitly stated. Not just because of
Not for
militia is
individuals,
mentioned
though.
at the
It's a
same
right
time.
for the states to maintain militias.
No,
Like,
it's
that's the-
for
that was the Supreme
individuals
Court
to
ruling
form
on it.
militias. It's for individuals to form militias in order to be able to handle the government when the government gets out of control.
Well, if you read
mean like
the
right
Which
statement
is
of
a silly premise in general.
if you read the Declaration of Rights in Virginia's Constitution, which our Bill of Rights was based on, it's very clear that the idea of having a state militia was to prevent the country from having an army, because armies are the bane of a democracy.
Yeah, it's all super outdated. It's all outdated.
And perhaps broken.
Well,
And
Yeah.
another thing
can't
is
get there from
you
here.
know, everybody thinks the Constitution is immutable, but that doesn't make any sense once you add in the fact that there are amendments.
Right, yeah. It's like the whole point, right?
Well, there have
Exactly.
been constitutional challenges on driver's licenses for that matter, and they basically have said, yeah, there is nothing in the Constitution about driver's licenses, but we're going to do it anyhow.
All right, it's a little bit late here, but the other
Okay,
side
Norbert.
of the
Let
of
us know if
the
you want to join the show.
Are you going to be here, Norbert? Tell us now.
next Sunday.
Yeah,
I think I will be.
right on. We'll expect you
Sorry?
to be in widescreen for that.
I created
Not
show notes today.
tomorrow. Not
They are
tomorrow.
in the. They're. We've got 405 show notes. Up
I'm a bit off in my. So this is
Next
not
week.
a show week. This is a roundtable week. So the show is
Correct.
next week, right?
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I can make it then.
Good.
On
So
time.
I will
please.
be
All right.
okay.
So let's gather our thoughts here.
We have thoughts.
We will put together a list of questions, and then I think beyond that, we should. It sounds like there's really not a whole lot of barriers in terms of what you're willing to talk about. So I think we'll be comfortable improving somewhat if we can stay off of subjects like.
Yeah, it'd be nice to stay on the topic of elementary OS and Linux.
If we end up with a 6-hour show, we end up with a 6-hour show. It's not going to bother us. It won't
We'll
be
have
our
to cut it
first
into
time.
thirds.
It'll bother my wife a little bit, but
Yeah.
but we will put together some kind
Some
of
boilerplate questions.
and get that to you.
We'll try to keep some kind of flow in the show, and then if we get off track, we can with the questions there. We can put ourselves back on track.
Yeah. So I think I'm trying to think how I want to frame any questions that might lead into the conversation about your personal journey.
If that's something you want to discuss on the show.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Maybe
I just non sequitur usually.
I would
speaking of
suggest
sharks,
first-
and then
Wood frames are nice, but
you what?
dad jokes. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna think about that some more, and then I'll let you know exactly how I'm gonna, just so that you can be a little more prepared. And,
Cool.
And any ideas for directions you want to go, because you'll obviously know more about the direction your project's going and that.
okay. If we told Danny where to find the show notes.
Have you given her access to the Nextcloud?
No, I have not. I have not even been on Nextcloud.
It's going to be pretty hard for her to contribute to the show notes without that.
Oh, well, I didn't. I don't just assume people want to do that. I will.
Now, are you a listener to the show?
I'm sorry to say that I haven't listened to the
No
show.
worries, no worries. The bi-weekly wanderings, now for you, obviously it doesn't have to be bi-weekly, but any of your side projects, any of the things that you've been working on that you find fun and want to bring to the show, that's the perfect place for it. So, like
Joe talks about his 3D printing a lot.
3D printing, working on headsets. I'm gonna be talking about the little like docking station that I built for my 1GX because I think it's awesome.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
The show is divided up into sections where we do the introduction, and then it's sort of set up to be split in half if it's long enough. So we'll have our news, and then some security news. And then we move on to what we call the wanderings, and that's where we just talk about anything we personally have going on, and then
our listeners seem to like hearing about us, not just Linux.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
If you want to put together something for that, I'm going to give you access to the show notes here in a minute. You want to put something into that, you're welcome to. If you don't, that's fine. The innards is usually where we have like a central topic, and
that's you.
And that'll be where the interview happens.
Yeah, the actual interview.
And then we have a check this out where we have little things that caught our attention that you might.
And we're going to have quite a bit in the user feedback this time because Brad sent 2, and one of them is extremely long. And Zen sent 1, and Zen's a trucker. You should check him out, Bill.
Yeah. Okay.
Check out the stuff he's talking about.
I feel bad I haven't looked at any of the emails, but I've just been so busy. So
well, I never look at the emails. It messes up my system to keep being offered where am I going to log in.
He retired from being a developer at Raytheon to go be a trucker.
Zen.
Right, because of all the money, no doubt. That was a joke. These are the jokes.
I laughed. You could see it in my face.
Hey, Dale makes more money than I do.
Okay. It might, I've often thought, though, it might be kind of awkward to, like, have the guest talk about what they're doing, and then we move on to another section where we're interviewing the guest, that I'm not sure how to...
Well, I would separate that out because we're planning on mostly talking about elementary OS in the interview. So make it work related. In this case, elementary OS would be the work related stuff, and then any other side projects or anything like that would be the biweekly stuff.
Okay. I still feel like it'd be a little more...
Yeah, I don't see that. I think it'll all be in innards. We just have 2 sections of innards.
Yeah, maybe just have her go last. That way it just kind of flows into...
Oh, you mean the biweekly?
If you want to read sections of the news or the security stuff...
Our guests go first in the biweeklies.
Gosh, why do I keep doing that?
Hey, sorry, I really have to go.
All right. Good night, Norbert.
Good night.
Sleep tight.
Have a nice rest of your day.
Yep, you too. Let me...
that makes it easier to look at.
What's your email, Danielle?
My email?
Yeah.
Danielle@elementary.io.
Danielle.
Yep.
Okay, so what I'm sending you is a link. I'm just sharing the 406 notes. I gotta make sure that you have editing rights. Yeah. So you'll get a link to the show notes, and then we will do a bespoke. Everybody will have a Audacity recording. I'm sure you've done it that way before. And I'll send you a link to... Nextcloud's got this cool way of just creating like a temporary link to where you would upload the FLAC to.
We do mono Audacity recordings, and we save it at the highest possible bit rate and whatnot as a FLAC.
Okay.
And then just upload it to our server. And then whoever's doing the editing, I'm guessing that's Rio.
Yeah, she's
goes and puts the streams together and does all the work on that.
She was excited about you being on the show too. I think she's... I know it's so far back now, but she lives in California. I'm trying to find where, but she's our audio editor, and she's apparently very shy because she will not come on and talk to us at all. But she does our audio. I can't think of where does she live at?
I never knew. I did not even know she was in California.
Well, I know because I bought her a
power
supply for her laptop.
True, you had to give an address for that.
Her dog ate the power supply.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I'm going. Yeah, we've heard that before.
Those things must be tasty because I've heard that like 3 more times since then. Somebody telling me, earlier today on 3 Fat Truckers, one of the guys on there, he had to use his headset microphone like Joe's using because his cat ate the USB cable. Like, why are we making these things so tasty? Or is it just a texture
Yeah,
thing?
I don't
Because
know
copper
why
is delicious.
do on the cords.
Like maybe.
Well, the plastic is heavily saline too.
Okay, so
I know the old phone cords were very saline.
let me know if you get that email. It's just the link to the show notes. If not, I must have did something wrong. But anyway, if
Hopefully you gave her a login as well.
if I share the link with her, she doesn't need a login. That's the cool thing about Nextcloud.
Is that true in terms of her uploading her stream as well?
No, that'll be another thing entirely. It's another type of temporary
Trying to
link.
take care of you here.
Yeah. See, if we were using Google Docs, you would have to add her to the access list and all that garbage, and then you end up with this huge list of people that probably...
It wasn't easy, but this show has been de-Googled, and we mostly have Bill to thank for that.
Very cool.
It's been a journey. I've had to learn how to do a lot of things I didn't know how to do a year ago. But
hey, does this mean I can delete anything that's on the Google Drive?
I dropped a lot of my old audio because it was just taking up so much space.
Yeah.
I would probably back up like a year's worth and make sure all of the the spreadsheets.
I thought you did already.
No, I haven't done anything. Don't ever assume I did anything. Don't ever do that. So, okay, we won't keep you any longer. Thanks so much.
Thank you for being here.
Gosh, I can't tell you.
Feel free to add any topic you want to discuss to the show notes. We are good with anything.
Yeah, we consider...
As we said, while you're on the show, you're just one of the hosts. So
yeah,
take some.
You get choices.
Take whatever liberty you want. You've got an open mic with us, as far as I'm concerned. We will not edit anything out unless you...
If you want us to shut the hell up and do the whole show yourself, we will shut the hell up.
I recall saying something on the show. I asked the audio editor to take out.
So, all right. Unless you guys have anything else, I think that pretty much covers it.
We got heavy things to pick up.
So
this has been one of our better streaming shows.
Yeah, I think so.
It only got a little political.
Oh, is this streaming?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh yeah, by the way.
I guess we should have mentioned that to you. Our bad.
Yeah, our alternate Saturday shows are streamed.
Yeah, we will do another. We do another Saturday
meetup.
At 3 o'clock thing meetup. That does not get streamed on the weekends of the show.
Now I'm like, what did I say?
That'll be for audio checks.
Well, you can go to YouTube and find out.
Oh no!
If you want us to delete it,
I didn't even do my makeup or anything. It's okay.
You look great.
You're beautiful anyhow. Leave it alone.
Oh, thanks.
But yeah, I make sure that I'm well dressed on recording weekends, though.
Yes, I'm wearing my pajamas.
So am I.
I'm sure some of us aren't even wearing pants, you know?
I got baseball pants on. It's cold out here today.
I got no pants on. You're welcome.
We needed that image. We really did.
All right. Well, we will see you. If you want to show up for the 3 o'clock meeting next Saturday, just to get our final thoughts, together, that'd be great. We'll be on here the same kind of setup as this. Now,
it'll probably be a much shorter show.
Because
we won't be streaming it.
And then Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern. What is that, like?
Noon.
The night before in California?
No, it's noon.
Oh, okay. I will send you a link for the video Ninja room.
Oh.
It's just mintCast, all lowercase letters, no password or anything. Because nobody's. We'll
test it on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that everything's working. So next Saturday, the day before the show, we will test the Video Ninja and make sure that all your levels on there and everything are correct.
But I think you were on Destination Linux. I think they use that too, don't they, or something like that?
I'm trying to remember what that was.
Because I'm pretty sure that's where I got the idea for it. But I don't know. I don't know who's using what anymore.
Yeah, I don't even remember if that was Jitsi or Video Ninja or what that. I can't recall.
Right. All right. Well, let's get out of here, kids. Everybody,
Bye.
have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.
See
Bye
ya.
now.